Hello, hello, hello. I'm at the other house. Got a lot of work done today in the garden, and also I cleaned the whole house. I cleaned the bathroom. I feel a lot better. It was exhausting, but makes me feel good. And it's always good to clean the house. Very, very good. Psychologically, energetically, physically, it's very, very good. Very healing. I did a spa treatment outside with ivy. I blended ivy. I put that into my face and hair. And it felt so incredibly good. I got grounded. And I want to talk about what happened last night. Last night at around 2:30 a.m., I had a horrific nightmare. And Paul had to wake me up because I was screaming and screaming and screaming in the dream, and in actuality I was screaming. And it's very embarrassing. Because I'm always worried that the neighbors could hear that. And here the neighbors are much closer than at the other house. But at the other house it might echo into the street because my room's high, and we're up on a hill, and then it echoes. So every sound in that street echoes. So what if my nightmare screams echo in there? That's very embarrassing. And it happens so often, throughout my life. I have been screaming in my nightmares, and sometimes I don't wake up from it. I have to be woken up. I have to be shaken up by someone. And I can't count it anymore how many times Paul has shaken me up from such a nightmare. And then he would sit there or stand there like pale in the face, and he'll say, "Well, that sounded so scary." That sounded like you were being tortured to death, or like you're like a scary monster, and in each of those dreams, throughout my whole life, I dream particularly, I think, when I moved to the United States, but also before, when I lived in Berlin. So I think it started somewhere in my early 20s, this phenomenon of having a nightmare and waking up screaming, or having to be woken up by someone else and screaming really, really loud in the dream and in actuality. And in every one of those dreams, in the end, the dreams they're all different. They can have different themes. It usually has to do with me being chased down, hunted down by someone. And then I become a ghost. And then I become afraid of myself. And that's when I scream, when I become afraid of myself. I'm not going to demonstrate how that sounds. I don't even want that to be recorded. I think it will cause shivers, down my arms and spinal cord. So it will make my hair stand up on end. So I don't even want to hear that. So then Paul asked me what the dream was about, but he's really hard at hearing, and I had earplugs and I didn't want to take them out. So I said, "Well, I can't talk about this now. I'll tell you later." But this is what the dream was. I was in this really huge house building, kind of like the Waldorf School by Rudolf Steiner. I had many dreams about Waldorf School by Rudolf Steiner. Those are, I don't know, they're kind of creepy a little bit. I don't know, but in a good way, in a beautiful way. But there were many rooms, and it looked like a school. Could have also been some kind of, I don't know, apartment building. I don't know. But there was another woman who looked a lot like me, and we were both in our underwear, like with underpants and just one of those jersey tank tops, like we were going to sleep, but then we were still awake, and we were jealous of each other. And then I tried to get away from her. I walked away. I walked out there into the hallway in my underwear, and I kept on walking, and I was afraid that she would follow me, and I was afraid that she'd kill me. And then I ended up going far away into a room, into a dark room. And in that dark room, I became a ghost. And that's what always happens in these nightmares, where I levitate, ghost, or I'm still alive, but I'm like, a monster, I start to levitate, and I float up towards the ceiling, and then I become afraid of myself. And this is very psychological. If I become a monster, if I become a ghost, then other people can't hurt me. And I also have unimaginable supernatural powers inside of me. I know that I have that. I believe every living being has that, but people don't tap into it unless they're in some very, very, very strange and scary situation, like where they have to become clairvoyant in order to see around hell or around the corner in order to protect their family. These kind of things happen. They happen under very frightening circumstances, where our unimaginable supernatural power comes through. So when it's needed, But I only dream about this, of course. I'm not really levitating. I only dream about it, and then I become afraid of myself. I become afraid of the monster that I am. And I don't know. I become afraid of the power that I have, and so I don't really know why. Why do I have fear of my own power? So what's going on there? Maybe I feel like I am not really in control of that power, or so I don't know. I'm afraid of becoming too powerful or something. So what could happen? That's a psychological question. What could happen if I become too powerful? What does it mean, too powerful? So I'm afraid that I become a monster and that I could hurt someone else. So I have carried that fear throughout my life, also psychologically. I've talked about this at the center. I talked about this to my psychiatrist, and none of these people understood what I was talking about at all. They completely misunderstood me. They starkly misunderstood me, and it It hurt my feelings, because I would never ever hurt someone else. I would never use my power for my own some kind of advantage or the disadvantage of someone else. I would never do that. But I had this fear inside, and I've seen another person in some reality TV show who had that as well. And also I saw another person on YouTube who talked about it. And I think most people would not talk about it because they don't want to be viewed as scary or something. So, and some people have told me they thought I was scary. That happened many, many times. And I don't blame them. I mean, I've been pretty psycho-wacko, particularly in the past, while doing primotherapy, and so it was enormously difficult, that phase going through. Thank you, Blue God 111 and 8. 8 is the infinity number. It's just standing upright, but infinity. The infinity is the 8 on the side. So the Blue God said, it's all good, don't worry. Those are all feelings, those are just fears, terrible fears, and it has to do with childhood trauma, and it's a collision between my compassion, which I'm a deeply compassionate person, and this need to become a ghost or a monster so that nobody can hurt me anymore. So it's a collision course. So I think, I'm terrified of becoming scary or something, because I don't want to be scary. I have compassion. I care, So, yeah, those are worries going through my life. But it's gotten a lot better. And the nightmares have fanned more and more apart from one another. So I haven't had a nightmare in quite a long time. So I think the last one was about 2 months ago at the other house. I also woke up screaming, but Paul didn't wake up because at the other house he sleeps in a different room. Here we sleep in the same room. I have my own bed, but we sleep in the same room. So here he can hear that, of course. So, but then before the last one, there were there was half a year or more in between the nightmares. So the nightmares are becoming less frequent. So that's a really good thing, okay. But the nightmares are a way of the brain processing childhood trauma. Okay, that's one way the brain does it. So when I scream in actuality in my daily life, if I get really angry at someone and I scream into my pillow or something, then I don't have nightmares, because then I'm already steaming that out during the day. When I'm not doing this anymore and everything is peace and bliss, and I talk about peace and I love everyone, and I really do, then the childhood trauma that is not processed yet comes up, and then it comes up in form of nightmares. So also this dream also represents, The jealousy of the other woman and the other woman jealous of me represents my childhood with my mother being jealous of me, and with my mother putting like embedding her jealousy also into my own mind, and making me think this is some kind of reality of being a woman, like we're we're supposed to be jealous or something of each other, which is totally ridiculous. And of course, I was jealous of my little brother who was born 5 years after I was born, and all the attention went to him and the love, and because I already had trauma, in the first 5 years. I had already had trauma with the Ice Queen, cold and not emotionally available the way I needed her. And then my brother born, chubby brother, baby brother, and I was jealous of him, and I linked up baby and chubby with being, that is the ultimate beauty, so it has embedded itself into my brain. And so that's why I want to be chubby, and that's why I am also jealous of other chubby women. And so that came through in that dream. And I was afraid of that other woman hunting me down and killing me, and that's also the same kind of fear that is really there that I have of my mother. I had a dream before where my mother was a werewolf, and I talked about it in a video. I don't know, that was like 3 or 4 years ago. I talked about this at the other house in the garden, made a video. The papa was still there. So yeah, I had this terrible nightmare for 3 years ago when my mother was a werewolf and she was going to come and find me and kill me. And so this dream again had that same type of atmosphere again. And then I walked away from her, and I walked through this entire building, this Waldorf school type of building, and I ended up in this dark room, and there I levitated. I became the monster. I became the ghost, because then nobody can hurt me anymore. And that's a psychological mechanism. And I see that also in a lot of other people, this mechanism. I see a lot of other people where women and men particularly have this theme going of they want to be tough and all. Then nobody can hurt them, or then daddy can't hurt them anymore, and also they, because of what they had been drilled with, they had been drilled with they need to be tough or something, so in order to be respected, but that happens also with women, of course, where we have been sexually abused, and then later on we want to become tough. We want to. That's why a lot of us dress up in male clothes. So that's why I wear these cargo pants, and most of my clothing items are kind of like this sweatshirt, for example. Or the cargo pants that I wear, kind of like a police officer, sort of, Then nobody can hurt me, I'm tough, and so it's a psychological theme that runs through my life, and I see this with a lot of other women as well. I see that with Billie Eilish also. Billie Eilish and I have a lot in common, a lot. I see myself in her 100%. So, same pain, all of that, And I don't know whether her mother is jealous of her or has embedded that kind of stuff in her. So I don't know. Her mother seems very, very sweet, so very kind mother. But I don't know. No, so I don't know the whole story. Paul told me that she talked in interviews that she had been sexually abused, and almost all women have as in their child. It's shocking, really. It's unbelievable. So, and that's pain, This is, as Jiddu Krishnamurti said, humanity has taken the wrong turn, at some point. So we wanna heal this. Okay, this is a collective trauma, and they keep on perpetuating it with the new generations. Let's not do that anymore. Okay, let's end that cycle of suffering. It's very important. That's why I didn't want to have kids. I did not want to continue this cycle of suffering. So, my body still wants to have a baby, but that's a physical need, of course. It's a biological need. But my mind knows better than that. So there's just too much suffering that goes into this, and when we have unfinished business with our own childhood, then we will automatically pass that on to our children, and we will make mistakes here and there, and that's tragic. I don't want that to happen. So as Dr. David Benatar said, it's better to not be born than to suffer in some way, psychologically or physically. So I don't want to make the video too long. So then Paul woke me up, and I was really glad he woke me up, and then I was so almost like paralyzed. That's how tired I was, and I had to force myself with the prefrontal cortex activity. I had to force myself to not fall asleep again for a while, because if I fall asleep again, the dream continues, and it has happened before many times. So I didn't want that to happen. So I'm like, no, I'm out of that matrix. I'm not going back into it. So then I forced myself to stay awake, and then I had to kind of flex my muscles, and I had to sit up, I had to get up. I was afraid to go into the garage. I was really afraid. I was afraid of seeing a ghost. I hadn't been afraid of a ghost in a long time now, so I thought I had processed all of that. But so obviously after a nightmare like this, that can flare up again. So I got up. I walked through the house towards the garage, where I have my composting toilet, and I walked by the window, and suddenly, this was the scariest thing, one of the scariest things I've ever seen. Yeah. So there was this, like this hood here, like I could just see, like up to here. The windowsill was here, out there in the washroom. Windowsill would go up to here, and I see the top of a black head, like this hood, like a hooded, black hooded head, the top of it, like walking, kind of like really smoothly walking, so past that window, and I only saw my imagination was doing this, My brain said, this is the top of a black hooded head. So, and I didn't think about any other option, No, that there cannot be anything else, no, other than that. That must be a ghost. So, and that what kind of like walked or kind of like, I don't know, like very swiftly, sort of, almost very smooth, too smooth really for someone to walk. People walk more like this. It's kind of like steady like that, walking, moving from one end to the other on that, right above that windowsill outside. And I got so scared I couldn't stand it. I went back into the bedroom and I told Paul, I just saw something real scary, look like a ghost, like the top of a head, or maybe a burglar or something. And then I said, Paul, you gotta come with me into the garage. I'm too terrified to go into the garage by myself. So he got the flashlight, he followed me down there, and as I was walking back past the window, Paul was behind me, way behind me in the kitchen. As I was walking past the window, suddenly I see like a coil, something coiled, a black coil in the corner that was moving a little bit. And I was like, Paul, there is something out there. Someone is out there. You know? And then we couldn't figure out what it was. I brought him with me into the garage. I had to make pee-pee. Then we went back into he was looking through that window. Then he went into this bathroom looking through that other window where you could see the other window. And suddenly he goes, oh my gosh, there is a big fat rat out there. And the rat is this color. So it was the back of the rat that was walking very swiftly from one end to the next. And then I saw the black coil that was moving. That was the tail of the rat. So the rat was constantly exploring on this window, on the other window, exploring on how to get in. And I was so relieved that he said that's a rat. So then I went into this bathroom and I looked through the window, and suddenly I see the rat so out there looking right at me. And I was like, I went right up to the rat, almost like a foot and a half apart from the rat, and the rat looked at me, and right into the bathroom window there's a screen, the mosquito screen between us. And then he went up there with like a prisoner, and he was with his claws, with his hands. They have like these hands and with long fingernails, and then he clawed with his long fingernails into the mosquito, scratch into the mosquito screen. He looked at me and it was like, I want to get in that house. I smell bananas in there. Let me in. And I talked to the rat. You cute little thing, you. What are you doing? What's going on? And then he climbed up on a pole. There was a metal pole that is standing. I don't know what Paul used this for. Something to work on the chimney with it. This real long metal pole that's leaning into this corner up that goes up onto the roof. And then I see the rat climbing up and down on that pole. So I call him my pole dancer now. That is my pole. I don't know whether that is a mama rat or a father rat, but that is my pole dancer. A real cute being. Real big black or anthracite colored rat. Beautiful being. And then when we got up today, I walked by that window in the washroom again. I looked at the mosquito screen in the washroom, and the rat had chewed a hole like this big into the mosquito screen. And I'm worried about that because the mosquito screen, that's one of those cheap ones that are made with fiberglass fibers on the inside that are coated with the color. So the rat chews into this fiberglass material. That's not good. I don't know what that does to the rat. To ingest fiberglass particles. Fiberglass needs to be outlawed completely. So that's not good for animals or people, It's not good to, when you go into a hardware store and there are fiberglass mats lying out there, out in the open, like at Home Depot, for example. And they're brittle, and that stuff can break off and it can end up like fiberglass particle dust in the air. It's not good. Also, the pesticides that they're selling, that evaporates out of those containers and it's in the air, and I don't even want to go into a hardware store anymore where they sell fiberglass and toxins and stuff like that. So all of that needs to be outlawed. But I told Paul, I said, look, he chewed a hole into the mosquito screen, and Paul said, okay, I'm gonna have to set up the live trap. We have a heart rat trap, live rat trap. That's like it's a large cage, The rat goes in there, trips a lever, and the door closes behind him. And he and the rat had eaten into a banana, a real big hole into the banana, like this big a hole into the banana, like from the side and also eaten through the bag. He had a bag with sourdough bread on the dryer, and that was a mistake. You can't leave any of these things out there. You have to put this in the refrigerator. Also, ants get to it. And he ate a hole into that bread bag. So, and then ate some of those individual toast bread. These individual slices he ate into one of those as well, and Paul had to take that and put it into the rat trap and cut the piece off where the rat had eaten into it, and he put that into the rat trap as well. And I put a little yogurt cup with water into it as well, so just in case he gets trapped there at night and he gets thirsty, he has something to drink, and in case we don't hear the rat. So, but most of the time we hear the rat door closing, or when we go to the bathroom we hear the rat running back and forth in the cage or chewing on the cage bars. So the prisoner trying to chew through the prison bars, and I feel sorry for them, and I always go like, Paul, I'm gonna have to release the rat. No, don't do that. I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna get all dressed, I'm gonna bring the rat over away from the house, like they recommend to bring the animals about 5 miles away from your house to make sure they don't come back to your house. But there's a very beautiful old cemetery not far from our house, and behind the cemetery it goes down there's like a jungle. It goes downhill into like some kind of creek valley, and there's a creek running through all year round, and that's perfect for the rat. Then he has something to drink there, and he can find food in that jungle for sure. So, and Paul had trapped many rats already, and would bring them in the middle of the night to a nice natural place. And I recommend to people to do the same. So that's very good to do, Don't kill any animals, okay? You don't have to, and don't do something cruel. Don't use glue traps. Glue traps are absolutely horrific. That's torture. Okay, don't use glue traps. Okay, all the animal rights organizations are always having petitions, always trying to get the stores to not sell glue traps, to get glue traps outlawed, and to tell everyone not to use glue traps on any kind of mouse or rat or any kind of animal. All kinds of animals could get stuck to those glue traps, and then they die a gruesome death there. That's absolutely unacceptable. Okay, they're sentient beings, just like we are. They have a central nervous system. They feel pain, they feel fear. Okay, don't do it. That's cruel. And don't use pesticides ever. So alright, so I don't want to make the video too long. I'm going to sleep now. You guys take care. Bye bye.